And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Signal Caller. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with the Solo Lopez on Twitter, and mine is POR. SBR is my Twitter handle, so check me out there. A whole lot to talk about today. We're going to be previewing the Jacksonville Jaguars, talking about their offseason, their draft, and everything like that, and how Liam Cohen can get this team going in the right direction. One really quick announcement about the show too is that missing has been the audio version of the show for a long time now, so that's going to be up and running starting on Sunday. So you'll be able to. So if you're going on your way to work, if you're on the treadmill, whatever, you'll be able to hear our show, hear our bevy of shows on the show on your way to work and stuff like that. The Suited by Right USC podcast, put on Raiders podcast, Signal Caller, and I think that's it. It's also the and also got one more coming out that I haven't talked about yet, but will be coming out soon. And also the Giants, who continue to lose again. First, we got three questions real quick. One is from Mike from 718. That's out there in New York. Do you think that Caleb Williams, what came out in Caleb, that book about Caleb Williams will have any kind of impact on the Bears this season?
Is that for me?
With both of us, but you can go first.
No, I don't think so at all. Seth Wickersham does real good work. He's been an in-depth NFL.
He's outstanding.
Yeah, he's done a lot of in-depth stuff. So I would give him the benefit out for basically anything that comes out. But I think Caleb Williams is in a bad spot only because of the polarization of his game was so high from everything that was nitpicky to the medical records and withholding the medical records. Like everything seems to be a little bit more exacerbated with anything that Caleb Williams does because he's just one of those natural polarizing players. Uh-huh. And so, of course, this is going to be a conversation during the time when they're supposed to have a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure. But then again, this is the NFL, and this is playing quarterback in the NFL. This is how this goes sometimes for a lot of players. And do I blame him for not wanting to go to Chicago? No. Look what they did in their first season. They stuck with Matt Eberflus, who was a lame duck coach. Their general manager isn't really 100% in charge of roster personnel. Their VP of operations is kind of like the guy. And it feels like there's this chain of people who didn't hire the other person where there's a power vacuum that goes on in that organization. That being said, I think that the Bears are going to be much, much better this year than they were last year. I think Caleb's going to be much, much better than last year. But I think he had a right to really look at his situation going into Chicago and feel some reservations because they're a terrible organization when it comes to the offensive side of the ball, particularly a quarterback. There's a reason why that team has not been good for a long time. And offensively, you could argue they've never really been elite or good, even with sweetness. So there was reservations for a high priority, generationally type talent player to go and be the starting quarterback. But this is how you change it. And you go out there and you play well and you become the next Joe Burrow for Chicago, who turned around Cincinnati and gave them arguably their best quarterback they've ever had. So that's the goal. And I think he's going to stick with it. And I don't think this is bad for Caleb. And I don't think it's going to be bad for his mentality moving forward.
Yeah, no question about it here. Let's go to David from 858. Do you think the Chiefs will come back to the pack? Dave is a Charger fan. We keep predicting it every year and it never ends up happening. But I do think, there has to be a little bit. Here's the thing, and we'll talk about it more in our Chiefs episode. But I think there is a conversation here where you have to sit back and ask yourself, are they going to win 15 consecutive, all these games by one score? Are they going to get the bail?
Technically, they're still on that streak, by the way.
Technically, how you figure?
The one possession game.
Because they haven't been because they lost.
They got blown out.
They got blown by Super Bowl, so they're still on that streak. So yeah, it's one thing to yes, you have 6 or 7 games on your season that are one score or whatever. It shows that you're a good team. You can win it when it matters. You can make plays on special teams, offense or defense. But I would not be. They have to create more separation in the scoreboard for me. Like they have to find a way to do that. Defensively, they're good.
Yeah.
And they will continue to be good. The timing of their blitzes with Spagnuolo has been phenomenal, but they got to find a way to be better. And I think getting what's the receiver's name who came back from suspension or whatever or injury or whatever.
Oh, Rasheed Rice.
Rasheed Rice definitely helps. They were kind of cooking a
He
little bit
was on
offensively.
his way, man.
It
He
was
was on his way.
he was on his way.
Yeah.
I do think they could definitely run the ball a little bit better. That'd be nice for them if they want to get better. But I think that's pretty much it I think it's a wait and see. We know they're gonna win, but we're still waiting to see how they're gonna win this year. Are they gonna win by double digit scores, or are they gonna be continuously this team
Yeah.
who goes by the skin of their teeth every week?
So my assessment on that is that until we see someone show up and beat them, you have to give the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt because they still have Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they still have the defense in place, they still have Chris Jones, they still have Travis Kelce, they still have these guys. And I think their wide receiver core, if they can stay healthy, is going to be a very, very confident, very good wide receiver core. I like Jalen Royals when they picked him in the fourth round. Regression to maybe a good or to great team and still a team that can win their division, absolutely. But a 15-1 or six, that type of team, 16-1 team, I don't think that's them anymore. I think they exhausted that run as long as they could, and it really just collapsed on top of itself. And there was this stigma about playing the Chiefs, which admittedly, justifiably or not, that you're going to get hosed at these certain calls in the game. And I think the stigma of that is now over. I think teams will not be afraid to make mistakes in that and against that team, but they're still going to be a really, really, really good team. I still have them winning the division until someone takes over. But being the one seed, being a Super Bowl contender anymore, I think they're beatable in their current state.
Yeah, I think so too, and I also think that they're gonna have some warts in the division. I think it's tougher to play Denver now.
Yeah,
No matter what you think about the Broncos, and it's tougher to play. I would say it's a little bit tougher to play the Raiders only because the Raiders unexpectedly have played well in KC the last 2 years, and they do play the Raiders in a game that could mean nothing in Vegas last game of the year,
yeah.
and then they also play the Chargers as well too. So that'd be tough as well. I did forget about the first question, and that was with the Bears. The Bears, I'm going to be doing the Put on Bears podcast as well too. So I'll talk about all the Caleb Williams stuff there. Last thing, it was Shane from Great Britain wants to know about how kind of a quick synopsis of how we feel about the Falcons. Um, Really, it's about the development of everything, and everything is there is about the development of the quarterback. They have a lot of the pieces to it. I know they're trying to shop Kyle Pitts. We'll see if that works. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that goes. Shopping Kyle Pitts around, but they do have Drake London. They do have some
So
offensive
they ruined him,
weapons.
by the way.
I know. Well, yeah, that's true. No question about that. And then you also have Bijan Robinson, who's a phenomenal running back as well. So they should have the pieces there to be that run the football down your throat, and then be able to play off of that and make things a little bit easier and clearer for Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the Falcons. I think all they needed really was like a consistent coach and a game plan, a guy that gets them to a certain plateau. And I think that Raheem Morris is a guy that can certainly get you to a certain plateau before you probably have to move on and bring in someone else who's better with that roster. But I like a lot of their skill positions. I like the players they have, and you and I both were gigantic fans of Michael Penix coming out of the draft. And if I feel like he's as good as I think he is, and he performs that way, I think they can challenge for that division. I think they're good enough on both sides of the ball to challenge for that division. It's not an overwhelmingly unbelievable division. I think you can get 11 wins and win that division pretty handily. So we'll see how that goes. I think the Saints are going to be one of the worst teams in football. I think Carolina's still trying to figure it out. 6 or 7 wins would be awesome for them. And I think, again, the biggest competition to the Falcons winning the division is going to be the Bucs. So who's returning almost everybody. So I like what the Falcons have done over the last couple of years. I like aggressively targeting the quarterback position. I'm a huge fan of Michael Penix. I want to see. I can't wait to see what he does with all those weapons this year. And I like Atlanta. I like Atlanta on the upside. Go with their arrow pointing up, not down.
Yeah, I do. I do like that one. Like that. I do like that team too. So we'll see what's going on there. Let's hit up the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go over there. All right, so Jacksonville Jaguars here. So we got the team spending here. We got 20% on the quarterback position, 6.5 on the running back position. Then we got wide receivers and tight ends, 21.6. Then we got 28.7 on defensive line, 3.5 on the linebackers, and then 21.9 on secondary, and then 2.4 on special teams. They finished 4-13 last year. Their last playoff win was on January 14th. On 2023. Remember that game against the Chargers.
Cover your ears, Chargers fans.
Yeah, brutal situation there for the Chargers. They were offensively, they run 11 personnel 67% of the time, and then they have a base 4-3 defense. Fourth most, they have the fourth most travel miles in the league. So at 29,000 miles are going to be traveling. Then they have head coaches, the Wonder Kid James Gladstone. You got Liam Cohen, Grant Udnicki is going to be the OC. Mostly William Cohen plays. Anthony Campnelli, and then Heath Farewell is going to be the special teams coach. Did you happen to see the ridiculous interception? And it was almost only practice, but you see that ridiculous interception by
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter today. What an athlete he is!
Yeah,
absolute great athlete.
I feel like he wasn't even looking at the ball until like the ball was in his hand.
Yeah,
like it was just instinctual. It was like instinctual for him to turn around and do that. Pretty ridiculous.
They have a plan. I think he's going to play both sides. Should be fun. To see what they do with him. Like I said, my draft thing is like, I didn't want my team to do it, but I want to see somebody to come out here and do the whole Travis Hunter experience, and we'll see what happens with that goes. I mean, I can't imagine the off the field stuff waiting for him this season if he turns out to be who we think he's going to be. So let's start off with the draft real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously Hunter goes first. You got Caleb Branshaw second. We'll go to the first three first, and Wyatt Millam from West Virginia. So obviously Travis Hunter, they're going to use him both sides. I think it's a great compliment offensively. If he ends up being a good wide receiver to Brian Thomas Jr., who had a really good rookie year, helps out. He can catch things short. He can, sit down in zones. He's also they both have two receivers that are guys who are tremendous deep threats. So I think that's something where off for defenses around the league are gonna have to get ready for that.
Yeah, I personally not sure I would have traded up what they gave up to get Travis Hunter at 2. I thought it was an outstanding deal for Cleveland when they made that move. But if you believe in this guy enough, which a lot of people do, mind you, it's not like it's a minority opinion, to think that he is a franchise-altering type of player because of the level of impact he can have on both sides of the ball. And obviously he's got an infectious personality. He's a great teammate. He's a guy that just seems like you want him on your team to be in your uniform because it looks like he's just going to be happy playing football at an elite level that way. He looks like it looks and feels like, that type of player. I understand the concept of okay, well, not a lot of people, if any, have really done it to the level that he's aspiring to do it to in the NFL. But if that's your guy and you believe in your guy to that degree, you go get him. You trade up for him. You make the moves. And if he's the highest player on your board, and this is the first time Gladstone's had an NFL draft where he's been in charge, he felt like he wanted to make the splash. The cons were obviously in favor of it. And he went and got him. I thought they addressed some pretty good pieces outside of Travis Hunter from that because they're obviously not going to have a first-round pick next year in order to make that happen. I don't mind Caleb Branshaw. It feels like versatility was the name of the game here. They picked all 3 players in the draft that they've given up or that they drafted in their first round, and then the two third round picks feels like two guys or three guys that can all play versatile positions. Now, obviously, those other two guys are not playing offensive defense like Hunter is, but Ransall can play any position in the secondary. Really, he can play safety and corner, and Wyatt Millum can play inside or outside. So there's some versatility to these guys that I think is a good move. I think that they had a great draft because they picked Boswell Tootin right after that in the fourth round, which is, Liam Cohen is going to like his running backs. They have Bixby and Travis Etienne there, who Etienne is probably going to be on the last year of his deal here in Jacksonville. They're probably not going to extend him unless he has a monster year this year. And then so they bring in Tootin, who was the fastest running back in the draft. I think he was one of the fastest players that came out in the draft. So I like what they've done. It looks like they've built a lot of versatility in their free agency or their draft package here. Liam Cohen is an offensive guy. He's gonna run a crisp, nice, versatile offense with a lot of running game, a lot of play action, a lot of flat passing, a lot of screens, a lot of things that get Trevor Lawrence open and easy completions to where he can start maneuvering around and targeting Travis Hunter and, hopefully Brenton Strange and, obviously Brian Thomas Jr. in the long game.
I think too, the one thing I like about, and I think this is for Allen and Toonson, they should feel really good about is this is an offensive coordinator who's called plays for a team that won a division, made the playoffs, stuff like that, but also was able to implement a rookie running back.
Yeah,
last year, and I
very
thought
effectively.
Very effectively. I mean, to the point where he just took the job. Basically. So, in a lot of ways, and he was definitely a guy. Did you play fantasy? He was a guy who I grabbed late, who helped me win a championship. So, he's phenomenal. So I like what I saw from him in that aspect of it. I do like the theme of what I'm seeing here because here's my thing. You get these jobs to get fired. You know what I mean? You're going to get fired. At some point, you're going to get fired. So James Gladstone is just like, you know what? I like this guy a lot. He's one of the top 5 players in this draft. I want him on my team. He fits our team. And I'm going to grab him. And, it's better than just sitting around and acting like you're going to have the job for a decade. Yeah. I mean, if you ask Ziegler what time, how long he'd have been the Raiders general manager or Tommy T Telesco, they would have said at least 3 or 4 years. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I won't get fired after 1 or 2.
At least 2.
Right? And
at least 2.
And then it ends up not happening. So while you
got a 1 and done and a 1.5 and done.
Yes. While you're in the ring, take your swings. You know what I mean? Like,
if you're in the big chair and you're not making the moves you want to make, then you're pretending to be in that chair. Then you're just being the boldest guys in the NFL are generally the ones that are winning.
I like that. The way you put that together is perfect. I like that. It makes sense. Yeah. So I do like Jack Kaiser and then Jalen and Jalen from Auburn, McLeod from Auburn, Lane from Navy. So they obviously had a need at linebacker. They wanted to double up there. So they're trying to.
I'll say this: I'm never taking or drafting a guy from the armed forces. Just never happening. In football, it's never. Have we had one guy that's been really, really good that's ever come out from the armed services? Minus Pat Tillman, who actually went into the armed services. He wasn't there before that. Have we ever had one guy?
Napoleon McCallum.
Is that it? Is that the one?
I have no idea.
But it's every year we see guys taking guys from the armed forces leagues or the teams, and I mean, we took one last year. Where's I don't even know his name.
Oh, the Air Force, the kid from Air Force, the safety from Air Force, the safety from Air Force. Yeah, I don't hear his name at all.
I don't understand it. I know it's late round picks, but that's just I don't know why general managers do it. They've never come in and been like unbelievably good. And maybe a long time ago, sure, like I maybe like decades ago, maybe that's probably plausible, and I'm probably spacing on one of the best ones ever. But still, man, like I don't understand it. It feels like a wasted pick every time, and
Yeah,
I know they're late
because
round picks, but
yeah, I mean, because like let's face it, like if you're doing the armed services thing, you're doing it because it's more important things than football on your mind. Like
yeah,
you know what I mean? So like you're not really worried about football. I mean, you play football, but you're not really worried about it too much. I totally agree with you on that one. Yeah, I would not, and I also probably wouldn't take 3 FCS players, but here we are. Um,
shout out, Spy Tech for sitting in the
so
chair.
sitting in a chair, sitting in a chair. Yep. Okay. Geno Smith. Okay, good job. So yeah, so we have that. I'm gonna look up their off-season acquisitions here in a second. But let's go through their schedule real quick. So like they got
Yeah,
so I think see these are the games that like really I will say to myself um are very interesting. Week 1 regular season game on the road again. No, sorry, at home against Carolina. That's a game where you have two teams who are trying to prove it to themselves right off the
yeah.
rip. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's a very intriguing game. They are obviously they're a Florida team. Obviously, they go to Cincinnati when you want to go to Cincinnati early in the season. They play the Texans um in their home, and then they go at San Francisco. So that's the first four. So obviously every team is doing the same thing. Look at the situation in quarters, and they want to be 2-2, or at least or 3-1 or 2-2 in their first four. 3-1 will be kind of tough. Then they play Kansas City, Seattle, and the Rams at home. So that's three really good opportunities there. They're going to have to try to come up with some upsets there. They'll probably be favored against maybe they'll be favored against the Seahawks, but you're looking at the home game against the Chiefs, home game against the Rams. Those are two tough games. Solo before they get the bye.
They have a brutal opening 6 game stretch. I mean, even if you want to consider Carolina a cakewalk, it's not like Jacksonville was very good last year, right? So you got two former Tampa Bay offensive coordinators in Carolina and Jacksonville for the head coaches of these teams, which is an interesting story from week 1. Two young teams, two young #1 overall picks that have a lot to prove, that have a lot on their plate to prove. Lawrence already got the contract. So it feels like there's a lot for these guys to have to deal with Bryce Young recovering from his first 2 years in the league, being benched last year and coming on strong late. That's going to be an interesting one. It's the battle of the bads from 2025, and they're trying to wash off the stink of previous regimes and in that regard. So also shout out Byron Leftwich, who's the Super Bowl winning offensive play caller for Tampa Bay, who didn't get a job, which sucks. But yeah, so opening up with Carolina is probably a toss-up game, but then you have Cincinnati, Houston, San Francisco, Kansas City, and the Seahawks and the Rams. Like that is a brutal schedule for a young team coming off of a bad season, trying to get on their feet and get their bearings early. Because that first half of the season you're looking at 5 losses easily. Like they'd probably only be the betting favorite against the Panthers in that whole entire stretch. Now that accounts for very little if a team shows up and is a lot better than most people believe. Like if Liam Cohen is the coach of the year type status and Trevor Lawrence is comeback player of the year and finally throws 40 something touchdowns or something, has a breakout year. But at the same time, just looking at it on paper, which is all we can do at this point, that's an entirely too tough stretch for a team that wants to get its bearings in a division that's probably going to be ruled once again by Houston. That is a tough one to go at until the bye week. Now, coming out of the bye week,
And they get
the Raiders. So.
before we go on, can they get? I mean, they're gonna have to really work hard to get 3-3, right?
Really hard, yeah. I mean, yeah, because
so if they can get to 2-4,
well, it would be 7 games, so they'd have to be 3-4 by the bye. I think
1, 2, 3. So they got 7 games. Well, yeah. So can they be 3-3 playing the Rams at home? That if you're that organization, you're asking yourself that question. Can you be 3-3 on October 19th? On October 19th.
Me personally, I would take the under.
I would too, but I'm just saying if you're if you're that squad, then
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I would
just
say
think
that.
that Joe Burrow has complete and utter command of his of that. I don't think he's going to be losing to Jacksonville in week 2 at home. I think
But
that that team is going to recognize a lot of what they have gone wrong for them in the last few years,
the
and I just
Bengals have not figured out defensive what they want to do defensively yet.
that's
So
true.
yeah,
That's true.
so I mean, I'm with you. It's a shame that they haven't figured out what they want to do defensively because you don't want to waste the years of having a guy who is
Joe
who
Burrow would have 1,000% been the MVP last year had the defense held up in just
I
2 games.
mean I mean his numbers like looking
Yeah,
at his numbers is like
outrageous. Yeah,
they're outrageous. So it is what it is. Yeah, so I understand that. So let's get after the bye. A game against the Raiders. That's going to be a game, but I think they're gonna want to win that game as far as a road game goes. At at the Texans, the Chargers at home, and then at Arizona. Trying to find a nice stretch for them here, but it seems like they have a really balanced,
that's what I was gonna say. As like
a
you
tough
could
yeah, it's
argue
a
they
tough
don't have a
schedule.
really nice game until Tennessee, until
Yes,
like and until they encounter a team from Carolina all the way up until like week 12 or week 13.
I will give them
That's
this.
tough.
I think they could in this next stretch of 4 games. Raiders, Raiders, Texans, Chargers, and Cardinals.
Cardinals.
I think for sure they can go. They can get 2-2 in that.
Yeah, I believe it. I think I think
That part they can get 2-2. Now Tennessee and the Colts. That's where you're looking at. Hey, you gotta be. They have to be 2-0 against those 2 games.
yeah.
Like you can't.
If you want to go to the playoffs, you have to win those
Yeah,
games.
you can't. Yeah, you really. And you got the Jets. Now, that's the 3-game win streak that they need.
Yeah.
Right there in their pocket late in the season. Then they go at Denver. Denver in 3 4 days
In Denver in the cold.
4 days before Christmas might be a tough chore for them. So we'll see what
Yeah.
happens there. And then they go back into a dome. So if they can be a game under 500 before they can be a game. If you're a Jaguar fan, here's your goal to get to the bye. Let's see, no, get to the Tennessee game on the 13th. 1 game under 500
Yeah.
or 500.
Yeah.
If they can do that, then they have a shot
If
because
they could be 6-6 by the time they go to Tennessee,
because
yeah,
no question about it because
that would be a massive win for them, in my opinion.
yeah, and
So
Godfrey,
6 games in their first 12 is tough, man. Like really tough.
yeah, they do.
Just on paper, it's tough.
Yeah, because they have some unproven parts of their team, so we don't know.
Yeah.
Liam Coleman, it's different between being a offensive play caller to being the head coach and doing everything.
Yeah.
You got to have smart people around you as far as game day stuff and everything like that. You got to make sure you're ready to go there. And then you have, and then I don't know about the defensive coordinator. I mean, we'll have to see. Like, I mean, do they get nothing from this draft class, or do they get is it Hunter and everybody else, or does
Yeah.
everybody else kind of chip in too? So as well.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Let me look at this real quick. Let me see. Jags free agents. I forgot to pull up the free agents. I know them, but I try to pull them up real quick.
I've got the first one here if you want to
First
talk
one.
about that.
Yeah, go ahead. Who's the first guy?
So De'Ami Brown is the first one. That was the deal that they gave him, which was a little bit another one of those. They gave him how much money? Kind of situation. I think it was the 1 year deal that they got for him. For him. So they like him obviously a lot. He's one of those guys that came from Washington. Going into his 5th year, he's 25. He's probably going to be a starter. He's the primary starter opposite BTJ, and then they're going to find the role for Travis Hunter. Not like had the upside coming out from college, but never really put it together. He was a good receiver for North Carolina, but just never really put it all together for Washington. But you see guys like this move around. Wide receivers move around a lot. They find a home. They find a good system, a good quarterback that fits them. So maybe that they believe that that's the guy. Not an overwhelming like athlete in that regard. He's not very big. He's in terms of the wide receiver position, he's probably like right below average, 6 foot, 190 pounds. But there's some ability there that he's able to get open, and there's some qualities there that are going to fit, I think, Liam Cohen what they want in that regard. So we'll see how that out. And obviously, he's going to be opposite Brian Thomas Jr. So your job's a little bit easier when you have a really, really great player on the other end.
So Eric Murray, safety, he signed a 3-year deal. Patrick Macari, a guard. You can give some depth there. Robert Haynes is going to be another. It's going to be a center. De'Ami Brown you talked about. Hunter Long. Almost at so Hunter Long is a tight end there. Johnny Mudd. Let's see here. Fred Johnson. So you got some offensive tackles in here too as well. So nothing big nothing huge.
Jordan not a big bunch of gigantic moves.
No.
In this one, it feels like a lot of guys that are going to be coming in competing for a lot of the guys who were there last year in Liam Cohen, like for Liam Cohen this year's new system. So I feel like there's a lot of competition for Liam Cohen to find guys that he can challenge for those positions. Remember, they also traded away Christian Kirk too to Houston, so inside the division, mind you.
Yeah, no question about it. So let's see here. So one more thing. Of course they did. All right. And then we have that's pretty much
Shout out
it.
Nick Mullins, by the way. He's still in the league.
Yeah, we did. Good for him. Hey, listen,
still in the league.
Raise your sons to be backup quarterbacks, ladies and gentlemen. Raise your sons to be backup quarterbacks.
Indeed.
We haven't talked about probably the biggest thing in the room. And I think the one thing I would say as I pull up his numbers here real quick, I will say this about I have changed. He's one of the quarterbacks who I've changed my philosophy on as far as how I evaluate quarterbacks in the draft. And that's Trevor Lawrence. And I think he's still not gotten it yet. He's been up and down. He shows you glimpses like he did against the Chargers in that playoff game. But then again, you look at it the other way, is like he also got down by that much too.
Yeah.
So
he had 4 turnovers in the first half, didn't he?
Exact. So if they were just halfway decent as far as like just running the football, the Chargers, they lose that game going away. So you can say that too as well. Thoughts about him, because he's the elephant in the room. Like does he develop? I think the big thing I look at when I look at college quarterbacks, and one of the biggest things somebody asked me the other day, like, what do you look for? And it's like I just didn't see. I just don't love. He had some production. There. That last year, I don't know, they went 9-1, whatever. He just didn't seem like the real, like the commander that some of the other quarterbacks from that last year's class were. As far
he doesn't feel like a franchise-altering quarterback.
Yes, he looks the part.
He looks the part. He won a national title, but even in college, he's not like he wasn't. I mean, nobody put. I do a lot of comparisons to Joe Burrow. He's my favorite quarterback in football, so I get it. But Joe Burrow looked the part and had the stats, had the national championship. He's the core fundamental. Yes, that team was loaded, but they're not winning that with an average quarterback. They're not putting up those types of stats. Joe Burrow was clearly the best player in college that year. Like, he did everything there was to do in that regard. Like, he didn't do, like, Trevor Lawrence never did that. And remember, he won the national title as a freshman when he came in. Remember, and like they sent, I forget the name, the guy's name, but they basically went with Trevor Lawrence and never looked back. But from that moment in that season, he never really did it again. And they got close a couple times, but I think they lost one of the national titles, right? I can't remember if they actually lost another national title there in Clemson. But like, he never really was an overwhelmingly like a stats guy, a production. Like, he was kind of just, I'm gonna do it on the field. But that has translated into the NFL a little bit, where he's not going to blow you away with any of his stats there. And it's going to have to come down to does this guy have an impact on a game without having the stats to back it up? And do they win games? And so far, he's been in the league. He's going into his 5th year, I think. So far, the answer's been no. So I think that's part of the problem is that, and you've already paid him, and so I think he automatically goes on this list with guys like Tua and guys like Justin Herbert, who I love Justin Herbert, but you got to be fair. You've got to go on a list like this of you guys. You paid these guys these money. Are they now going to reward you by being the most impactful player on your football team consistently day in and day out, week in and week out? And so far, it just hasn't seemed that way with him. So I think there's a lot of pressure on him to really put it together this year. You have a new offensive play caller, a really good player. You have a good running game. You have good guys that you have you have good skill positions to try to put together. It's kind of time now to really put this team over the top and do that. Now, you can't give a guy benefit of doubt if they had a winning season and won a playoff game a couple of years ago and then went 4-13, and now he's going to come back and win. Oh, well, if they win 7 games, that's going to be okay. But it's like that's not a team that has to be mediocre. You're not coming from a rebuild. You're coming from 2 years ago. You drafted the guy, 4 years ago, number 1 overall, and you've already given him the contract. So it's like time now. We got to ease into this season, and it's a new coach and a new system and all that, blah, blah, blah. No, there's no more excuses. The excuses for these guys are running out. You have to be good consistently, week in and week out. You have to prove that you've earned the money. You have to prove that you are worthy of the draft spot. And so far, he hasn't, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Trevor Lawrence, and if he turns it around, then I give him that. I more hats off to him, and I give him all the credit in the world. But if they don't make the playoffs, the Jaguars, let it be on defense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let it be on defense. But this with the you don't play in a crazy division. When you look at the offensive weapons that you have, this really should not be a situation where we shouldn't threaten to score points or be struggling to score points. Like you have a guy who knows how to call plays. Can he run a whole football team? I really don't know, but
we'll find out.
But like that should be something.
Ball.
Well, he had his moment. That was him hiding in the freezer while our guy Patrick Graham was getting interviewed. Yeah, good old Rooney Rule. So it is what it is there. And Brenton, I'll also mention. I forgot to mention Brenton Strange as well, tight end, a tight end for them as well too. So
yes,
we'll see.
I think it's really important. We cannot go into this next offseason saying, is Trevor Lawrence the guy? That's an unequivocal failure. If that's the case,
regardless of
that's
record,
the question that needs to be answered right this season. This is the pressure point. Like, is he the guy? Are you the guy to turn the franchise around? If the answer to that is we're not sure yet, we haven't seen enough. The answer is no. Mm-hmm. Then, because if you go with this long, you've been, it's a long time in the NFL now from being the number 1 overall pick and having them give you skill position players and to build the team around you, consistently try to do that to make your job easier. I understand Jacksonville's not a great organization, but like the answer has to be yes. Like it cannot be, well, we're not so sure. We're not, he's good, but we're not quite there yet. Like that can't be the conversation the Jaguars are having heading into next year's offseason. So this is the year that you're gonna have to perform and show us that you're the guy.
What numbers are we looking at here for him to have?
Well, one, he's got to stay healthy all 17 games.
So he plays. Let's just say he plays 15. He misses 2 games.
So
we're looking at. What numbers are you looking at? Yardage.
I'm wanting with the skill positions that they have. I think that throwing 30 plus touchdowns is not. It shouldn't be for a play caller of this caliber, for a quarterback that's supposed to be of this caliber, for the skill positions they have, and a guy that they're leaning on to be like the guy. I don't think it's out of the question to expect 30 touchdowns from a quarterback. No. It's a lot, but I mean, it seems like a guy that has legs as well, that can run outside the pocket and make plays. On top of being what I consider to be one of the better play action passers in the NFL. I think 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns shouldn't be some monstrous out of bounds type of expectation for a guy. I mean, if he plays 15 games, like I would hope he plays every game. I mean, that's your job to be healthy and to be available. But if you get hurt, you get hurt. But you have to mitigate the high risk plays that he does, where he doesn't slide fast enough, or he doesn't get down hard or like quick enough on his running. He has to make better decisions when he's taking off, when he's trying to make the play downfield, and keep the turnovers to a minimal. Like if you can produce and be impactful and your team is winning, that's what should be expected of a quarterback, regardless of stats. But if you're not winning and you don't have the stats, then it's a problem for being a number one overall pick and a $255 million quarterback. So I think a reasonable expectation would be pursuing that 4,000 yard mark, which I think is a good benchmark for quarterbacks now in today's NFL. And pursuing that 30 touchdown mark was a little bit higher on average than the normal. But I understand that. But you should have big expectations for a number one overall pick.
Yeah, I like it. I agree with you.
By the way, it's the same expectation I have for Caleb Williams. I think 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns should be the plateau of, or not the plateau, but the floor of his level.
I think the one thing I'll say about I think too is like I think 30 total touchdowns would be fine for me with Caleb because of his running ability. But obviously Lawrence is not the runner that Caleb is, so he kind of needs to do it in the air. I mean, I said his personal stats, but if they're in the top 10 in scoring, like he's doing it because if you get a bunch of plays where you throw your team to the 5-yard line and then Bigsby runs it in or whatever.
They're not going to be a top 10 offense in spite of the quarterback play.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're going to be that way because of the quarterback play.
Yes. So here's my question to you: is I like the top of the skill position guys, Thomas, Brown, and Hunter. But after that, and this is the reason why I think for sure Hunter's playing a whole lot of wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's
a little dry.
it's a little dry.
A little dry over there.
So whoever is the how can I put it? Whoever is the how can I put it? The wide receiver coach would be a guy who I would definitely he definitely will earn his stripes with the back half of that group.
Yeah.
Because I never heard of half of these guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know. So like so and
you don't know who Louis Rees-Zammit is? How dare you?
I don't. I do know.
How dare you?
I do know Dorian Singer, but he's not really a guy who's going to be. He's not a separator. He's
you know who Chandler Brayboy is? Come on, man.
Brayboy is a great last
name. What kind of football analyst doesn't know Chandler Brayboy? Shout out Chandler Brayboy. Neither one of us have ever heard your name until just now.
But Brayboy,
probably the first time you've ever been spoken about on Twitter or YouTube. So you're welcome.
I do think Brayboy is. Let me click on this real quick. I gotta find out where he's from.
You gotta see his name.
But
hey, they did get Trenton Irwin from the Bengals.
That's a cool rap name, though. That's a good.
Chandler Brayboy.
Brayboy.
It's a UK rapper because the Cons are very connected to the UK.
Just Brayboy. He went to Elon. They have a receiver from Elon on this team.
Jesus. Well, I will say this,
bro.
Parker Washington had some ability and had some opportunity. Couldn't really put it together for them all entirely. I think it'll be less so that he'll have the opportunity to do so now, but he'll still get an opportunity to develop in a wide receiver friendly offense from Liam Cohen. So if you had to pick a fourth guy out of all those names, Eli Payne-Cole and Louis Rees-Zammit and Chandler Brayboy from the UK, and Elon, Parker Washington would be the guy for that, in my opinion. He would be the guy that's going to be filling in the Travis Hunter role, and Travis Hunter is not getting all those snaps. Yeah. If they have to sit Travis Hunter on offense, Parker Washington's probably going to be the guy. But then after that,
he has the most experience.
Yeah, that's a better way to put that because there's a good chance he won't be the guy, and he could be Trent Irwin from the Bengals. So
That
We
is
don't know.
interesting. Well, as we do this, I gotta see other teams. Like, do other teams have this kind of drought after their top guys?
A lot of teams do. Yeah, the Raiders. Look at the Raiders.
This is
Perfect
brutal.
example is like there are other teams that struggle putting together. Well, I think part of the problem is when you change general managers so often, as bad teams often do, you just don't get a lot of consistency and continuity on the depth chart on the roster. A new guy will come in and be like, I don't want Chandler Brayboy on my team. I'm not going to give an opportunity to develop here. I'm going to bring in my guy who I bring in Hunter Renfro or something, and I know Hunter Renfro can play in my system, and so on and so forth. So when there's a lot of overturn or turnover, and there's a lot of inconsistency and not a lot of continuity in the team with the general managers, I mean, the roster always gets messed up. And guys that might have had an opportunity with another regime get no opportunity and they get cut. So it's tough. It's tough to have a consistently good roster. I mean, not everybody's going to be the
It's hard.
Ravens
It's hard. It's hard.
or the Eagles
It's
or the
hard. It's
Chiefs,
hard.
all those
It's hard.
guys. So it makes it a
Yeah,
lot harder when you don't have good,
dude.
consistent quarterback play.
UTSA. So they got a wide receiver from UTSA, from Elon, from Rice. Whoa, they are pushing it with these wide receivers. Okay, Parker Washington went to Penn State. Let's see. Let's see where Eli went. Eli went to Duke. Okay, I gotta see. And I'm interested to see.
Wow,
What,
Duke,
dude,
Rice,
dude,
Elon.
I don't know how Louis Rees Zamet got on the team, but it literally says no college. So that's interesting to see no college on that one. I've never seen that before.
What?
It says no college. Cam Camper. Good job, mom. The Cam Camper. I like that. I like that. He went to Boise State, so you could ask him about our running back. Let's see, JJ Jones. JJ Jones.
No college?
I never seen it before. North Carolina, JJ Jones. Dorian Singer with the USC for a little bit. Let me see.
You think it's probably because he's a UK player?
They do have Trent Irwin.
Got it. He was a Welsh rugby player. There it is.
God, here we go.
That's why he's got no college.
Trent.
He's a Welsh rugby union player, Luis Reese Zamet. Now he's a professional football player.
Good for him. And Darius Lassiter from BYU. So a little Mormon action there too. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think we talked about. I think the biggest thing is, obviously, you take the job if you're Liam Cohen. You don't know how long or how there's so many guys whose names were hot back in the day, hot for a year. I mean, look at Bobby Slowick. But Bobby Slowick. I mean, in retrospect, he probably if he's married, his wife probably said, you should have took that job. You know what I'm saying? You'd be a head coach right now.
It's crazy. Like, he's gone now from Houston. That's crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm. He's done. He's done right now. So we'll see. That's crazy. All right. So that's the Jaguars in a nutshell here. I'm going to try to
Do you have a record prediction?
I'll say 7-11.
7?
I'll say 7-11. 7-11.
7-10?
7-10, I should say. 7-10, sorry. I'm adding the 18th game already. Sorry.
You know it's coming. You're already thinking in the future. You know it's coming. It's coming. We know. We and I both know it. It's coming.
I'm gonna have. There is a guy. I forgot his first name. Last name is Wiggins. But he does the Locked On Jaguars podcast every year. He's great. He's great at talking football. So I always make an excuse to have him on. So we might have him on a little bit close to the season to talk about that division and talk about the Jaguars and stuff like that.
Sir.
Too. So he's really good. Go ahead.
I after looking at the schedule, and I like their team, it's hard for me to think that they're just going to put it together on like with Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence, even though that's the right pairing you need to make with a young quarterback. Get a young hot offensive coordinator, a young hot play caller to help your quarterback grow and develop. I don't know, man. I just don't think they're that close. I think 6 would be their max after looking at their schedule. I think there's a real possibility that they get to the bye with only 2 wins. I think it's a brutal schedule to start before the bye week. I think there's losses all over those first 7 games.